guess is stronger than my father with Marcus Minis.
Welcome to another episode of Stronger Than My Father podcast. I am your host, Marcus Minis. Stronger Than My Father podcast designed to bring more of an awareness to fatherhood and also continue to preach that fatherhood matters. So thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's guest. Today's guest is a friend that I've been trying to connect with and do a podcast, and thank God he is here. Today's guest is Mr. Joe Dubin. Joe Dubin is from Nashville, and he is a three-time Emmy Award winner in TV and reporter. So thank you, Joe, for coming on.
Oh, my pleasure, man. I love what you do, and I love who you are and what it's about. So thank you.
All right, man. You sound just like on TV, man. Same voice, man.
Right.
So those who don't know who Joe Dubin is, tell my listening audience a little bit about who's Joe, where you from there. Okay,
so I grew up here in Nashville, born in 1968, but I don't feel 50. I don't feel 54. I don't. It's crazy. And I grew up here and went to Donaldson Junior High, went to McGavick High School, class of 86. I actually grew up partly in this area. We're out here in Smith Springs right now.
Yeah.
And so walking into this, where you're taping this church just brought back a flood of memories because we played basketball in the gym down there. And then one instant in January of 86, we got thrown out of the gym for arguing with the referee. And so I've not been back in that gym
since 86?
Yeah.
Wow.
So to walk in, I mean, I texted a bunch of buddies. I took pictures, and they're like, oh, my gosh, I forgot all about that place. So I'm intertwined in this whole place. So anyway, I went to McGavick. Then I went to junior college, played football. From there, I went to Sanford University and played football. Made a lot of mistakes along the way. Ended up graduating from MTSU in 97. Started working at Channel 2. I was at Channel 2 from 97 to 2011. I had a variety of jobs. I was a cameraman. I was an editor. Became a reporter. Became a sports anchor. And then fall of 2011, I left there and went to ESPN Radio to 2015. And then Channel 4 contacted me, then opening the sports department. So I was at Channel 4 from 2015 to 2021.
Okay.
And then now I work over, thank God, I got a great job at Mitsubishi Motors, North American headquarters, some community engagement, talent relations, employee engagement. It's just a great job. I'm really lucky with that. And so, but I'm still very involved. I mean, you got to be involved in the community. That's what, Mitsubishi allows me to go out and do things and see people and be part of events and a lot of community engagement. And companies should do that. They should get involved in the community somehow, some way. So basically, that's me.
That's cool. Now, you wrote a great book that's called Create the Chaos. So please go to Amazon and buy this book. It's a good, quick read, but it's me understanding chaos. And sometimes when we see what this podcast is about is the fatherless.
Right.
There's a lot of chaos. So what is your story from growing up either with or without a father in the home?
I had no father growing up. He was he passed away 4 years ago, and it's weird. It took me. I just now in the last 6 months forgave him. He was awful.
Wow.
He was an awful man.
Wow.
Awful man, and he was never around. And when he'd come around, he'd be belligerent or he'd be drunk, or he'd just awful. I mean, it was so. My mom was an angel on earth, and God, she passed away 12 years ago. But he was never around, never did anything. So I found comfort in sports, athletics, friends, and my mom was so fantastic that I never realized I didn't have a father. And there's a great movie, if you get a chance, there's a movie called The World According to Garth with Robin Williams. It came back in 1982, and it's about being raised by a single mom who went through a lot of things. But it's a comedy, kind of, but it's very serious. There's a lot of serious tones to it. It's a great movie. At the very end, she's going off to speak. I'm not going to give it away, but it's a wonderful movie. She's going off to speak, and he's not going to see her ever again, and the movie will lead into that. And she's getting on a helicopter, and he says, I just want you to know, because of you, I never needed a father. And she's like, what? I can't hear you. And he's like, I never needed a father. And she's like, I can't hear you because of the helicopter. And so I was blessed that I had this wonderful woman as a mom, where I didn't realize I didn't need a father until years later. Till you have your own kids. And you realize, what he missed, and that anger. I carried that anger for a long time, But he passed away 4 years ago, and So there's when he passed away, I put, because we all do stuff on Facebook or social media, and I was like, I just got word that my father passed away because I didn't see him. I didn't see him for 35 years. And I said, my father passed away. I said, I would post pictures, but I don't have any. And that's a story for another day.
That caught my attention. I read that post. It caught my attention. Let me ask you this question then. Why does it take men, and I know with females, it's maybe a little bit different, to forgive? What? Because I don't know that story, because like I said, I grew up with my father. So what is the hardest part to, why is it so hard to forgive?
You go back to thinking about when the lights get cut off, there's no food, when mom's got to borrow money to pay the rent. Then one day you come home like, hey, we got to pack our stuff up, we're moving. And you don't realize while you're moving, but you're getting evicted. You know, so then you realize, had he been around, paid his child support? Look, I understand that if mothers and fathers don't get along, I understand that. But don't turn your back on your kids. Just don't do that. So as I got older and had my kid, I got 2 kids. My daughter's 24, my son's 17. And you grow up and you see you want to give them the world, and the fact that it was hard to fathom a man not wanting to do anything with his kids. So I got angry. I carried that. And so finally, a good friend of mine's a pastor, and we were talking. He's like, man, you just got to let that go. And I was like, you know what? You're right.
Now, who gave you the tools to raise kids? Because I know you're going to say a lot of it's from your mother.
Right.
But that relationship with your son now, how do you bond that without having that father piece?
I think it comes naturally. I think I think you reach down and I think most of us, probably 99%, are born good. We're with a good soul, and then things happen along the way and we get sidetracked and we go off and we lose kind of that purpose what we got. But this is just probably a dumb answer, but you see examples of TV, and I know this probably doesn't sound right, but you watch the Cosby Show back in the day.
Everybody say that, man.
I mean, there was. I know what happened. I know, we know now how bad of a man he was, but back then we didn't know. And you watch that show, and here's this guy involved in his family, and so a lot of us are raised by TV in a way. So we find things like that, and you find examples. I had a good friend of mine that. His dad treated me like a son, and so you see examples along the way. But when you have your kids, it's just it's different. I didn't want my kids growing up thinking about me the way I thought about my father.
There you go.
That was it.
So you would find a way to break the cycle then.
I had to. It had to stop. His father hated him.
Darn.
He hated. He didn't like me. I mean, so there was a lot of, and I talked to my aunts, my brothers, sisters, and it's always excuses. His dad was an alcoholic and beat him, and well, you know what? A lot of people survive that, and I hate it. And so for me, it was having to realize I'm not him. I don't want to be him. I fought hard not to be him. I mean, you make mistakes along the way, many mistakes, but you try to get back up and go forward and, say, God, all right, let's get through today, one step at a time. And you do that. It's funny. I remember I didn't see him for years. And we're playing a basketball game at TSU. I'll never forget. And he shows up drunk, cussing at me because I didn't know how to rebound. And so I let it go. I mean, I kind of went after him a little bit, and I remember it being held back. I was just turned 14 at the time, and he got and then left, and I didn't see him again for a couple of years.
Before he died, did he ever apologize to you?
Not one time.
Wow.
I haven't seen him since I graduated high school in June of '86. Last time I saw him.
But did you go to the funeral and all of that, or no?
Yeah, and I kind of made a jerk of myself because I went to the funeral, and when I got there, I walked in to make sure he was dead.
Whoa.
And I walked in, I walked to the casket, and everybody was staring at me, and I looked at him for 5 seconds, and I left.
You didn't stay for the funeral at all?
No.
Because you don't feel like it wasn't no relationship.
No, just going to the funeral of the guy that lives down the street. Yeah. But I look back now thinking, what? That was stupid, Joe. You shouldn't have done that. But a lot of anger. There was a lot of anger right there built up when you see that guy who, it's your dad who didn't care about you or anything. Boy, that was tough. I mean, so it was kind of a jerk about it, but I just saw him and left, and then my cousin came out in the parking lot and talked, and then my aunt came out. I hadn't talked to her in 35 years, and that's when she was like, well, he went through a lot. And I was like, sorry, we all go through a lot. You don't turn your back on your kids.
No, you never turn your back on your kids. I think, for me being a dad, I try to make sure my kids see a good example of me. Because I'm, a husband of nearly 22 years. I look at them and say, okay, this is my job. This is what my dad trained me to do. And when my dad told me one day, I forgot, I think when I bought my first house and something like that, he said, I'm proud of you. Every son wants to be validated by his father.
Sure.
And I think why I do the podcast, why I present this opportunity is that I'm just trying to bring an awareness because it affects so many people and of all races. And I think, for us as men, when I see you with pictures with your son and stuff like that, I was just like, wow, it's always good to see a father with his son. And especially when you go to football games.
Yeah.
When I played ninth grade, that's about all I played. My dad would kill me. I seen my dad in the stands. Mm-hmm. And he would tell me when to throw the forearm and stuff like that. And that's the things that why I bring this awareness and everything. And I know now more than ever is that we have to step up. We have to be there. I never understood why, dads wouldn't do certain things. Like when you say, hey, you don't want to pay your child support or cut the lights off or anything like that. But when you asked for forgiveness, when you forgave, did you kind of realize that he was involved in the cycle?
No.
To say, hey, now when you think about it,
no, because I was never part of that. It was never talked about. I can think about it, but what my aunt said, but it was never one of those things of, forgive him for what he did. I just saw what the effect to me was. Yeah. And you talk about men, we're brash and, we don't want to get into, showing our feelings when we need to. And so it was never one of those things. And you speak about fathers. I don't know if I wrote in this book or I've written 2 books. And I don't know if I would say that one or not one. It's about a story called He Was Always There. Mm-hmm. So a friend of mine, his father died in the October of 21. Mm-hmm. And this was from a very athletic family here in town. They had 3 sons playing the NFL. But the constant through all this was their dad. Mm-hmm. He came to every event. He'd come to the grandkids events. He was at every, and he passed away. And I was talking to him and I said, Brad, I'm sorry about your father. And he's like, it was the first game. He had died on a Monday, buried him on a Thursday, and we had a high school football game on a Friday. His son played with my son. And he's like, it's going to be weird looking up and him not being here because, Joe, he was always there. And to me, that spoke volumes. Because as a father, tell me about your dad. You sitting there talking about your father. He was always there.
He was always there.
Always good times, bad times. He might not have made you happy.
No,
he might have made you upset and told you things you don't want to hear.
Yeah,
but he was always there, and so that hit me like a ton of bricks. And so I wrote the story. He was always there about no matter what happens, go. My son and I get in arguments all the time, and so I'll still show up at sporting events and everything. Yeah. We got a very good relationship, but I want him to tell people my dad was always there. Yeah, my daughter calls me up. He's always there, and that to me that was just. That encompasses love and gratitude, passion, everything. He was always there.
Let me ask you this then. In marriage and relationships, how much you think not having that father figure affects men?
Big time.
How?
Because there's no blueprint for us.
Okay.
My first, I ruined my first marriage. I was awful. I was an awful, awful man, but I had no blueprint of what good and bad was. I just went off of my feeling and my emotions of what I wanted to do for that moment. And so it was awful. So maybe if I had that constant and I had that example that, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. Yeah. Some are dumb and some are just awful. Yeah. But perhaps had he been there, I wouldn't have done, but I can't blame him for that. It's just, it is what it is and it goes on. But
people tell me all the time that only way I can do things in marriage is only what my dad taught me. Well, really, he didn't teach. He didn't talk. I saw how he treated mama.
Yeah.
Okay, because I never seen abuse. I never seen cussing out or disrespect to my mother. My father told me that when you get married, when your wife come home, it better be a safe place for her.
Oh, it's good.
He told me that. He said, whatever you're going through, you leave it in the garage.
Yeah.
That's nice. Tips that he told me. So my kids run to the garage. Every time I come home and say, Daddy's here. And not when I come home, they run and they're scared. I'm a big guy. Right. And they're scared. But I think that more than ever, what I've done is just try to find a way to be able to help kids and teach those skills, because now teaching is so important.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked you about that for relationships, because an interviewer I had yesterday kind of told me the same thing. Like it affects in relationships.
Yeah.
And, you know, just some of the tools I was taught, you know, from my dad, and then I watch him. And my parents been married almost 52 years now.
That's, oof.
And,
you know how rare that is? I mean, I know you do, but it's just, that doesn't happen every day. I mean, that takes a lot. That's a lot.
To stay married that long? Yeah. My dad grew up in the country. He was just this old school guy, and he taught me, you know, the old school way, and just you take care of your family no matter what. And so that's why I asked that. But let me get into your book.
Yeah, my bad.
Create. No, it's no problem. Create the chaos. First of all, the title caught my attention.
So you've created chaos.
No, how did I create chaos?
Look what you've done.
Okay.
Look what you've done here.
Mm-hmm.
You had an idea. You got the door shut on you. You kept going. You found another door. You did this. You did that. You open up. You're mentoring. You found a church. You had an idea. You had a vision. People shut the door on you again. You kept going. You didn't stop. You created chaos. Mm-hmm. Chaos can be wonderful. Marcus, you created chaos. You wouldn't be sitting here right now if you not created chaos. Chaos is a good thing sometimes.
Okay.
So you were like, hey, I wanted to start with my father. No, door slammed. Well, I tried. Then what did you do? You went around the door. You found another door. You went over the wall. You got a ladder. You went over. You found somebody else to help you out. You had an idea, and then it started working a little bit. And it's like, okay, maybe it's running out of steam. I'm going to go do this, create chaos on this side. And people have to recognize the chaos. And you did that.
Wow.
So it's just switching your mind around. You're a prime example of creating chaos.
When I first saw the title, I thought it was like something like you creating a lot of bad stuff. A lot of bad things happen. And I think for me is that my whole goal is to bring awareness. You know, sometimes I see men suppress, they didn't have a dad and they just live a normal life, but they still mad. Right. So when I see abuse, I'm like, who taught you to hit somebody? Who taught you to disrespect a woman like that? Because it's a learned behavior. You have to see it from somebody. So I think what the chaos that I'm trying to create is for men to step up and say, look, I'm going to take care of my kid no matter what. Yeah. And I know sometimes relationships don't work. Like you mentioned earlier, it just does not work, but you still be there for the dad. And like I said, it's a world, Joe, that I do not know a lot. Right. And some people think I'm naive to a lot of the things that go on. So I don't know about single moms, how hard it is for single moms to make it. I don't know that. All I know is that what can I do to help you? Yeah. And I want to try to do that. So I think just from your story, saying growing up with a father, dealing with the anger, let me ask this one question. Did you have to go through any therapy, or did you just like, I'm going to figure it out on my own?
No, but you know what? I am in now.
Okay.
I had last fall in January, two men I know over 50 killed themselves, right? And they realized he had no hope. And then they didn't reach out for help. And I was like, man, what's going on? And they're both over 50, lost their jobs, felt like couldn't take care of their families. And so for me, it was like, I'm still grieving my mother's, but I got so busy doing life that, and then it just hits you like, man, you got to slow down. And so you go talk to somebody, and I did. So I wrote a story in the paper back in 1st of March, just simply called Go Talk to Someone. And I put my email, and it was about what I'm dealing with, about some friends are dealing with. I didn't use names. At the very end, I said, here is my email address. Email me, right? And if you need help, email me, and we'll figure this out. So a friend of mine's like, you're insane for putting email addresses. You're insane. So I had... right now, we're up to 14 men. Wow. Who reached out to me, and they are now in therapy. And I said, "Hey, I can lead you there, but you got to open up." You know, 14, and I've heard back from all of them, and some are some high profile people in our city. And wow. They reached out, and I said, we're going to go, and I found a great therapist, a great organization for them to get into, and I don't want anything. I just don't want to see, I'm tired of seeing my friends die. I'm just tired of that. And I've heard from it, and it's just like, hey, it's going great. So then I wrote another story called Now We Walk Together, and that is, once you take that first step and go see the therapist, I get you there. Now I don't care how much money you got. I don't care what color you are. I don't care where you're from. I don't care. We're walking together now. Now, if you reach out to me and said, I need to talk to somebody, hey, I'm going to find you that person.
Yeah.
Now we're walking together.
Okay.
I ain't leaving you behind. I don't want you going ahead of me. I'm not going to go ahead of you. We're walking together. And it's probably the most powerful thing I've written and I've done. And
well, yeah, 'cause I know a lot of men struggle going to therapy. I interviewed former Pittsburgh Steeler Chris Hope.
yeah.
And he had talked to me about, I'm like, I don't need therapy. I grew up with a dad. I don't need therapy. He was like, everybody needs someone to talk to.
Right.
So
That's right.
I just didn't think I would need that. But I think, everybody needs somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
So who's your go-to person? Like if you're really down, you need some outside of, we pray, talk to God, because I do mentorship. Do you have that mentor? Do you have that person you can call right now if I'm going through something, I need to talk to somebody?
Yeah, I've texted him earlier, my friends from high school. I mean, we've been through the fire together. So if I need something, I'll call them, and they call me, and there's about 4 or 5 of us that rely on each other. And that was the thing, is these other guys that the 2 that passed away, they reached out to no one. I mean, you'd talk to them and see how you're going, and I saw a thing one time when if you ask the guy, how's it going? How are you doing? He's like, it's going okay. Man, it's not going okay. And so I don't know what more we could do than just check in, doing what's going on. So it was powerful and May is Mental Health Month. Yeah. And I know, men and women struggle with all that, but a lot of the men out there don't know where to go and what to do. But, and you're trying to raise a family, you've got your job, and there's a lot hitting you, man. There's a lot hitting you. And I always use the Rocky line, life hits you hard, man, but you got to get up. You got to keep punching. It's going to knock you down and get back up again. Yeah. And eventually you'll make your way. And you'll get knocked down again, you make your way back up there again. So with these men, it was just, again, I've heard back from them how enlightening it is, how open they never thought they'd go to therapy, and now they're talking and on that first step because we're walking together. And so it was just one of those things. I sat down, I was like, I need to write this. And so I'm in like 18 different papers around Middle Tennessee, and it's been pretty good. I mean, is that my purpose in life now? I don't know. I don't know. But I knew that I was called. Good Lord said, go ahead and write this article. Well, and so that it was. I
mean, everybody needs somebody to talk to. Yeah. Everybody needs help. And it's things that I've experienced in my past that, even my wife, like, you need to find somebody to talk to about that because you hold that. So when you talked about at the beginning about holding anger, I understand that from just people who hurt me in the past. Yeah. But, and there's things that I need to do to forgive. And I don't really, now one thing for me, I don't try, and my wife probably say I'm wrong, but I don't try to hold it. I try to keep trying to move forward to what I'm trying to complete, my destination, things I'm trying to do. Right. So when I'm trying to see, I don't really have time to really think of trying to figure out who do I need to forgive and stuff like that. So in your honest opinion, you think I'm wrong for trying to hold that, or you think I need to find a way to do a little bit better?
I think you are wrong to hold it in. And I'm trying to find a screenshot I took from the other day that sums up a lot, and I'm going to have you read it if I can find it. Okay, this is what I go. A lot of things I go by now. Read that.
You cannot compete with me. I want you to win too.
Yeah. Okay. So you're not competing with me, man. I want you to succeed, and that's what I take an attitude to all these things. I want you to. I can't succeed unless you succeed. I can't be, and it's in the book too. I mean, I can't be successful unless you're successful. And if I can lift you up along the way, because there'll be times you might have to lift me up on the way, and that's for anything and anybody. So I don't know. There's a lot of things you hear like your life. Like if I heard that 10 years ago, I'd be like, Marcus, shut up. But now you hear it and you go through some trials and tribulations. You're like, God, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, I don't really. In what I do, I don't really try to compete. I think that. My wife said, somebody make you mad, you try to prove them wrong. That's me. Yeah. That's who I am. Yeah. If you tell me, hey, you can't do a podcast, I'm going to find a way to do it and show you that it can be done. I was told that you can't, you crazy doing an after school program. And I'm 7 years in. Has there been ups and downs doing it? Yeah. But at the end of the day, I'm still here. I think with anything you do, I tell people to push yourself, motivate yourself. And I think what you've done from just your career, when I was reading the book, just your career, moves you made, as you kind of go full circle with your career, what you want to do now to to impact people's lives.
I
appreciate the newspaper. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
I do that too much, but I appreciate
that's all right.
doing the Main Street newspaper, the interviewing. So what are you doing now for a circle to continue to make an impact?
Well, I think continue the writing part of that. And then social media is a powerful tool if you use it correctly.
Okay.
A lot of it's not used correctly, but I think you can reach out to people and see things, and people will see that example and read things. I mean, I tell people the written word now is as powerful today as it was 2,000 years ago when Jesus was walking the earth. I mean, it's still powerful. That word is powerful, but it's how we use those words to inspire, to encourage, to lift up. And I mean, it's not all. I mean, I don't wake up every day in a pile of gold and walk around, floating. I mean, days are rough.
Yeah,
but you get through it. I mean, it's life. And so if I could use that platform to continue to promote and lift people up, make people smile and laugh, whatever, get their problems away, that's good. But, I go back to the 14 men who reached. I had a guy call me at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night, and I recognized, I was like, man, this isn't good. And he was done. He's I am done. And it was 4 days after the Covenant shooting. And he had a friend who had kids there. They were fine, thank God. And he's like, I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. Because he got into an argument on Twitter about something. And I was like, man, just don't, let's talk about this. And so I talked him off the ledge, and then I keep checking in every other day, and he's doing great. But he needed to talk to somebody. And so I'm glad I was there to be able to help him out. And so it was good. Now, you asked her about the title of the book.
Yeah.
It's funny, the title of the book was, I was playing a football game in college, and I was a nose guard. And so I stood up to see where the ball was going, and when I did, I got double teamed. And the two guys drove me about 15 yards down the field. And so they ended up getting like a 25-yard play, and then we called a timeout, and the linebacker said, we were missing a guy. We only had 10 guys on the field. And I said, no, I got blocked down the field. That was my bad. So my coach comes out. And says, this is when they allowed the coaches to come out in the field. He said, they're going to run that same play again. He's like, Joe, fall down, create this chaos where they can't get past you. Same play. I fell down. They piled on top of me. Linebacker hit the running back. He fumbled. They stopped the drive. And he goes, great job. You created that chaos that stopped the drive. I was like,
I like
man.
that.
So I was like, all right. And I was like you. I was like, chaos is a bad thing. But then when I tried to get a job in TV, I couldn't get anywhere.
I remember that in the beginning of the book. Yeah.
So I couldn't get anywhere. And so I created different things. I got involved in more things. So I created this chaos where you had to recognize me. You had to acknowledge me. It just wasn't a no.
Yeah.
But you tell me why you're giving me a no. And they couldn't do that. And so I got my start in TV. So I tell people, if you're trying to get in TV or anything, you want to be a songwriter or a singer, and go to the open mic nights 4 nights in a row. I mean, just don't take a no and sit there. Just go do something. Create that chaos in your life. That's wonderful. That people who recognize you can go on your way.
Wow, because that's kind of what I did when I graduated Tennessee State in 2011. I wanted to travel and do training development, and nobody would give me a job.
Right.
Nobody gave me a job. I ran to Trevecca and got a master's, thinking that would open doors. No one gave me a job. I swear, I don't know how much I spend on LinkedIn and resumes.
Right.
And God looked at me and said, I was working at a factory. I loved the money, hated the job. And God said, if you want to get out of this factory, you got to do my work. He said, that's the only way you're going to get out of here. So when you said at the beginning about me creating chaos and doing a whole lot of different things.
Perfect example.
Now interview, I understand the book now. I understand the book, and when you talked about how you had to send tapes and stuff like that, but you had to find a way to pivot and figure things out. It's just kind of what I had to do the same thing. So starting out.
Have you looked around at what you've done here?
I really haven't. I ain't going to lie to you.
I mean, look at this. Podcast, setup, people. I mean, after school, all the kids. I mean, think about that. You created wonderful chaos. You could have sat on your couch and thought about this every day.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're 60 and you're dead. You could have done it.
Yeah.
But you didn't. You got off your tail and created this thing, and things happen. I tell people all the time, it's 1 day or 2 day. That's not like the number one, the number two. It's 1 day or 2 day. It's up to you.
Yeah.
You chose today. You're not 1 day, because we can sit around, one day I'm going to write a song, or one day I'm going to go do this.
Yeah.
But 1 day never comes, man.
Well, I wanted to be sure. I have different ideas pop in my head, and I take risks. Some of the risks are good, some of the risks are bad. One thing I'm thankful for is a wife who allows me to make mistakes and do risk and do everything I'm doing, because now she has to share me with everybody, with kids who don't have their fathers, sharing with people who need somebody to talk to. Those things is very key, and you have to have somebody in your corner that allows you to do that, or you can't. So the chaos I'm trying to create, like I said at the beginning, is just the awareness. And people like you who said, hey, man, I didn't have a great father. I forgave him. The pain is still there. I don't think the pain will ever leave.
No,
it'll never leave. But you found a way to, one time I saw you at a football game. I think when I first met you in person, and I think it was at Beach.
That's right, Beach and Gallatin.
Beach Gallatin. Was your son playing that day? Or you were reporting?
On
okay.
TV. Yeah.
And that's, for me, it's just when I read the beginning of your book, how you started in the news and how you kept getting no's and stuff like that. And then when they pivot you for, I think the end, you were doing this, you were going by the gyms and stuff, like going to the gym and doing reporting from different gyms, and having to pivot. So as we close this out, those who want to get in TV, kids who's listening, or a parent who's listening who want to get in TV, what was good advice you would give them?
Take advantage of an internship. I was talking to your podcast guy a minute ago about getting in. He said, contact be in school, obviously, but if you want to go and apply for a job. And my first job in TV, I was an editor making $6 an hour.
Whoa.
But
I thought TV people make a lot more than that.
But I was in the door. Okay. I was a part-time editor of a noon show. And that allowed me to take a camera on Friday night and the car to go cover high school football. You got to start somewhere. Okay. Kids these days want to start at the top because it's all you see. You turn on your Instagram, you see Drake. Yeah. I can do that tomorrow. No. For every Drake, there's millions who aren't making it, And so you've got to figure out your own path and don't follow the path of somebody else. So get involved. I mean, you go to college, and if you're out of college, you want to start over, and people go, I didn't go to college. Well, I mean, perhaps you could go there and say, maybe one day a week I could do this at the TV station or the radio station or something, and eventually you'll find your way. I mean, I had so many interns that came through, and I'm so proud of them because I think I've got 12 who intern under me who are now successful in television. And they're like, why? What's the secret? I was like, man, be yourself, work hard, be willing to do anything. Because if you drop me in a TV station right now, I could produce, I could edit, I could write, I could report, because I learned all those jobs. So I took advantage of what they gave me. And so you have to do all that stuff, and then once you do it, you're starting to create some chaos, and you move on. But, it's not just working in TV and radio, but it's in your life. Yeah. There's a lot of unhappy people out there. Yeah. And I don't know the secret to making you happy, but you'll find it if you're looking for it. You can make yourself happy. But I don't know how people go about this world without believing in God. I don't. I really, really don't. When things get bad, and as a preacher at church last week, it said, if we don't believe in Jesus, we're all just sitting in this church rambling. Yeah. And I was like, man, that's strong. He's right about that. But we lean on each other, and we do things, and we support each other. I want you to win and along the way, and it's just life, and go talk to somebody. I mean, it's a variety of topics that we're hitting, but for men, mostly over 50 or over, some over 40. I mean, it's gonna be some rough spots along the way, but don't quit, man. Don't give up, because once you give up, it's over. Don't give up.
And you mentioned something as we wrap this up with mental health and those things. I guess when you get over that 40 hump, and I always tell people, find what's your purpose, what makes you happy. Yeah. And when you talked about your new position at Mitsubishi, and you're like, I'm happy. That's the first thing I caught in my ear, that you're happy, because I would think, you leave Channel 4, you'll go to another news station and keep doing it, but you pivot, you've done something different. And if that makes you happy, do that. And I know some people stay in careers too long, and they don't. They do. They're not happy, but that's all they know.
Yeah, the thought of me going and working in factory jobs are great, but for 40 years and retire and then die 2 years later, it just doesn't. Yeah. I think God made us more than that. So exactly. I'm able to do the writing, and you're doing a podcast. Yes. I mean, you're just continue to grow and expand and do things. Get out of your comfort zone, and it works.
This is out of my comfort zone. I ain't lying to you, man.
And I've started writing. I've got another book coming out in about 2 months, and there's another one down the line. I've started on, and it's called What If, and it's about taking people, famous people that I've talked to in their life, and what if you didn't take that step? Like, for example, Garth Brooks from Oklahoma. He came to Nashville in the mid-'80s and was here a day and left because he got homesick, didn't think he could do it, and went back home. His wife said, we're going back. What if she doesn't say that? He goes back home. What if she doesn't say that, and he goes back home, and then, but this is any talent, famous person. You take that step and you go and, what if you didn't do that? What would your life be differently? And all of a sudden you can take it on the positive, what if you didn't do this podcast? What if you didn't do the get off your tail and do the mentoring here? What if that didn't happen? I mean, you're like, I wonder what happened. I wonder what I could have done. But now you know, because you did it. You're an example for other people.
Well, I appreciate that, man. Your words are very encouraging because, like I said, I've never looked back. And when you say see everything, and look, I don't really do that. I guess I don't never want to look like I'm prideful or anything.
Right.
I just look like, all right, it's done. Let's go to the next thing. Eventually, podcast's going to go away. I was like, all right, I was blessed to be able to have that opportunity. What's the next one? So I'm always looking for the next thing.
Yeah.
I can't sit in one spot. So Joe, I appreciate your time. It's great meeting you finally in person. We've done interviews and TV. I mean, the newspaper.
That's right.
Tell me about your the Main Street. You still have the Main Street?
Yeah, I still write for the paper.
Okay.
We got like 16, 17 newspapers around. So I write. There's an article each week in there, and I put them on my website.
Okay.
BigJoeandTheGo.com, which has done really well. I don't know why, but it's done well.
You famous, man. Everybody know Joe, man. Everybody know Joe Dubin.
I just put things on there, and then hopefully it inspires one or two people. Like the book is inspired. I've heard from people that I don't know from across the country who have bought the book. And said, great short read. It's crazy, Marcus, for a time that book was number one on the Amazon category and humor and self-help. And I was like, what? And then it's continuously stayed in the top 10 for a long time, which I don't. It's crazy.
Wow.
So it's just one of those things where I've always wanted to write a book. Just go do it. Write a book.
I'm going to do it. This was a great short read. It didn't take me long to read it all, but the title caught my attention of creating something. So now I understand why I'm creating chaos now. So
there you got it. You're doing it.
Thanks, Joe, for coming. Y'all buy this book. Buy the book, Create the Chaos. And thank you for listening to this episode of Stronger Than My Father. You can listen to additional episodes by visiting our website at strongerthanmyfather.org/podcast. Thank you for my producer, Jim McCarthy, and Jim McCarthy voiceovers, and all the production team that makes this happen. God bless you. See you on another episode.